Okay. Okay, now we are recording. Okay. Sadashiva Samarambam Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Param Ishvaro Tamiti Murti Veda Vibhagine Vyo Mabda Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtiya Namaha Tava Vedanta Gocharam Tamagocharam Govindam Paramanandam Tatguru Pranatosh Maham Om Shanti 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 Namaste. Welcome everybody. You see that I have fixed our sampradaya behind here on the back. I did not have the space for Dayananda, but I got some of our guys there. So we go back to the beautiful text Tattva Bodha, which was written by Shankara, Adi Shankara, on the 13th century. So we're gonna cover some of the, hopefully all the introduction, or some of the introduction. So we begin saying that Vedanta is also known as self-investigation, self-inquiry. So what it means, self-inquiry, self-investigation? It means that Vedanta is not about doing anything, but it's about contemplating, inquiring, investigating, and understanding and knowing something. So it's not about action, as I mean to get any result, but it's a question of investigating, contemplating, to know, to assimilate, okay? And Vedanta is a mean of knowledge, and it is the key to what we call freedom. And we are not talking about temporary freedom, but we are talking about permanent freedom. And then now one or two of us would say, what? Permanent freedom? I have never heard about permanent freedom, permanent happiness, permanent satisfaction. So there is such a thing. There is such a thing as a permanent freedom, a permanent sense of satisfaction, of joy, okay? Which is not the usual joy every time we gain something that we desire so dearly, or every time we avoid something that we reject so intensely. So this satisfaction is a totally different sort of satisfaction, peace, and tranquility, which is regardless of circumstances, regardless of adversities and crises that life presents us, in spite of our resistance to them. So everyone values happiness and freedom. So if everybody loves the idea of knowledge, permanent freedom, permanent satisfaction, permanent happiness, so it is important to understand what is Vedanta and how Vedanta works, how self-inquiry works, and how we go about doing this self-investigation. Because a lot of us think that self-inquiry is just meditation, or it's just asking yourself, who am I? As we have heard it several times by Ramji, exposing this notion, this superficial, vague notion that was well spread by one of my teachers called Papaji, Punjaji. So Vedanta is a self-inquiry, is a body of knowledge, is an extensive body of knowledge presented by the scriptures, and it's totally based on the analysis of our own experience of life. It's nothing fancy, it's not esoteric, it's just analyzing our very, very basic daily experience of life that somehow go about totally unexamined by most of us. You you excuse me for my English is a little rust because lately most of my writings and talks are in Portuguese language and Italian language here as well. So I catch up very very quickly. So everyone is in agreement that if there is such a thing as happiness, if there is such thing as a permanent sense of limitless satisfaction and joy, we want it. We want it. I suspect because I never heard it. There is such a thing, you know. Because as we know, every experience by nature is bound by time. Yeah? But self-knowledge, as we say in the Vedanta, body of knowledge, or self-knowledge is not self-experience. Self-knowledge is self-knowledge. Otherwise, people out there would call it self-experience. Hey, Harry, you? Nice. Okay. So we have self-knowledge, not self-experience. Everyone values this freedom, this happiness, which is not conditioned by any happening, any event. Therefore, we need to know how Vedanta works. So the first step when we come to Vedanta is to do an inventory and put in order what are our values, what we really want in life. Okay, because we are moved, we come into this world moved by our desires. Our desires, they exist as desires in our subtle body, in our conscious mind. They exist in my unconscious mind or in my causal body, and tendencies, predispositions. And these tendencies are what we call vasanas, impressions, subtle impressions or subtle memories in our causal body that appears in our subtle bodies as desires. So we live out of desires. We come into another body due to our desires. Without desire, there's no force that brings us back to manifestation of another body, another birth. Okay? So we are moved by desire, we are born out of desire, we are run and governed by desires, and there are four, let's say, four categories of desires that moves us and condition our human experience, okay? So the first and the most common, the most basic, which everyone needs to go by, okay? If not in this life, in previous lives, desire for security. Okay? So the desire for the security is the most basic desire. It's a very important desire. Vedanta and the Vedic culture does not look down on artha. Okay? But the desires for security, Vedanta does not look down into people who are inclined to work for the accomplishment of their desire. Why? Because it's absolutely necessary. We need to go to those stages of accomplishments in the material life. If I am a provider in my family, I need to provide for wife and children and so on. So this first level of desire for security is the most fundamental of the human experience. Okay? The first one is artha. Artha, the desire for security. So the second one is the desire for pleasures. Okay? The desires for entertainment, to have a good time. It's not only work, and saving money. No, it's work and enjoy, working and spending. So we want to have security, but we want to have a joyful life as well. So those are the most basic, fundamental desires by which most of human beings are governed by. Okay, the desire for security and the desire for entertainment, pleasure, satisfaction, personal satisfactions. Okay, so, so the artha is the desire for material security, money, properties. Money gives us a huge sense of satisfaction, of security. If we look a little bit more closely and deeply, we will find that there is a defect in money. And this defect that we find in money, we find in all objects of experience. All objects of experience are fundamentally defective. You know, they give us a superficial sense of satisfaction, but this satisfaction easily fades. And especially when we understand that, for example, in the case of money, what was a security for me before to have $1,000 now is not a security anymore, because now I want $10,000, I want $100,000, and a millionaire wants to become a billionaire. And nobody really feels truly secured. Okay, we have a sense of security by accomplishing these material goals, and it is important as a stepping stone, but not absolute security. There is no such thing as absolute security. There are some stepping stones. We have a relative security that allows you to move from those two levels of human pursuit, artha and kama, security and pleasures. We move from artha kama to dharma moksha. When we move to the third pursuit, human pursuit called dharma, we enter into what we could say a religious life, a life conduced by dharma, by spiritual religious principles, in which I'm not only working for security, I'm not only working to satisfy my desires, my desires, the desires of my family, you know, the pleasures, the entertainment of my family, the security of my family, the education of my children. So when we enter the field of Dharma, we begin pursuing objects which a lot of the time are going to cost personal desire for self-centered accomplishments. So it's the desire for Dharma is a very high and very noble desire when we get into Dharma, because it's a desire a lot of the time requires that we sacrifice our own desires from our own security and our own self-centered. As for pleasures, what is dharmic, we are compelled, once we get into that level of spirituality, we are compelled to do what is right, not do what satisfies my vasana, my desire, my mind, you know, and so on. So artha goes for wealth, the pursuit of material security through the acquisition of money, food, shelter, clothes, palace, estates, and everything, you know, fame. You can become the president of the United States, and you think that you are very secure, okay? But have we noticed that every time the president fulfill its 4 or 8 years, you know, and then he becomes older and nobody ever remembers them, nobody pays respect to them, and most of the time they die miserable lives because they got used to be the most important, most powerful man on the planet to become nobody in old age, you know, once they are deprived of their power, their position of power. So none of those positions of acquisition of fame, power, money, rich, and so on are going to resolve this thirst that human beings have for security, okay, for satisfaction. So no amount of pleasures, through the sense organs, sense instruments are going to extract a lot of pleasures once we have money. No amount of these pleasures are going to bring about this satisfaction that resolves the mind of the individual being, the individual, to the point that he says like, okay, now I know what is permanent and stable and permanent satisfaction, happiness. Now, every object of satisfaction fades, or fails to deliver this infinite and permanent satisfaction. And again, we have to turn to the next, what next? And so we go. So karma is the pursuit of pleasure. We think is seeking to enjoy things, whether they are they be subtle like relationships, art, music, knowledge, or just food, drugs, sex, Netflix, or whatsoever, TV, theaters, anything we want to do, trips, I have a nice example in the family of my wife here. We have someone, is one of these guys that we say self-made man. A self-made man sometimes is the most dangerous. One time I heard Mayananda saying that they're very dangerous. Why they're so dangerous? Because they begin with nothing, and they build this empire, and then it happens that they develop vanity and pride. They develop pride and vanity, big ego, and they keep saying, "Oh, I began with nothing, and with hard work and with my intelligence and so on, I build everything what I have." So we can go about building, this empire. So where I was going to go with this story. So we can have seeking this enjoyment of situations and circumstances of life. We can become very, very rich. We can become very, very, very powerful. But yet, I'm sorry, I lost where I was going with it. But yet, I feel empty. And now I remember, I have an example in our family here. Okay? So it's an uncle of my wife. He was a very common poor guy, and he worked very hard. By and by, he became partner in a small industry. The industry has developed, and it became big. He started opening office in other countries. Okay, and he made a lot of money, and in the process of becoming wealth and rich, he became also very, very pissed off, irritated, and stressed out. Now to the point that the family could not handle it anymore. But every time he comes home, it's trouble because the guy is, people who are extremely rajasic, and they can accomplish so much in life. On the other hand, they develop so much stress and irritation that to live with them sometimes is very difficult. So I remember the family say, "Oh my God, it's better when he's away because when he comes home, he's pissed off. He's always stressed out." So he developed his industry, his company, his business, and he did grow to make him a very rich man. Some years back, kind of maybe 5 years, 7 years ago, when I came to visit Italy, I heard from him. He invited us for dinner, And he's a pain, that guy, because he likes to talk about his story all the time. You know, I'm someone that I was nobody, and then this, and now I am the big. I have 400 people under me. I sustain everybody, all these salaries. He almost feels like he's the prime minister of Italy. So he invited me, his big ego, and I thought, oh my God, one more time with this guy, you know. He talks, he does not listen, he only likes to talk. And for my surprise, when I came there, he told me, hey, you know what? I don't want to know of anything anymore. I'm putting my company for sale. I'm selling everything to my partner. We are selling whatever we have abroad, and I'm done with everything. And I know that the guy is extremely rajasic. And I'm imagining to myself, what he's going to do with his life? He's going to go crazy without this company, you know, with this outlet of energy, you know, by which he can channel all these rajas. And then he said, no. The thing is, recently I met a group, and we went to the group. It was a circle, and everybody was sharing. And then the most amazing thing happened. I started crying. Other people started crying as well. For the first time in my life, I became emotional. For the first time in my life, I could open up my heart. And then we hugged. There was energy. And then after that, we did massage. So to make it short, he discovered another world, the world of self-improvement, self-betterment of the individual. Okay? So this is another aspect of what call the third level of human pursuit. We go from, and then we go for all the pleasures that this guy could have, traveling right and left, have everything he wants. And now he says, no, I'm done with it. He's really done, because nowadays he's still into this. Sometimes he likes to ask me a little bit, but what is this thing about Vedanta? And then I say a little bit, and they say, no, it's not for me. Okay? He's still into his self-development group. There's nothing else that he likes to do in his life. Okay? So this is an example of this transition between the first level of human pursuit, which is secured, to the one of pleasures, to the one of betterment or virtue, you know, or dharma, following dharma. This third level, it expresses itself when we become religious beings as dharma. But in the modern Western society, it can be seen as a phenomenon of developing interest in self-improvement, understanding psychology, being more fair, more balanced, less angry with my family, you know, appreciating better my wife, and so on. So this example is an example of someone who moved between artha, karma, and then moved into virtue, development of virtues. I want to be a better me. So this is the way we all have to go through. That's why we cannot look down on anybody. That's why in the Vedic culture, we never look down on money to begin with, you know. It's important. So Dharma and Moksha, the pursuit, the human pursuit of Dharma and Moksha, represents our entry into what we can call a religious, spiritual way of life. That's when we begin growing spiritually, okay? When we bring Dharma into the account, when we bring Ishvara into the account, not only my psychology, okay? That is the Western way of looking at, oh, now I'm into self-development and self-betterment. No, we want to bring Ishvara and the Brahman into the equation so that we can truly grow as spiritual beings. That is the pursuit of Dharma. So Dharma is acting, avoiding wrongdoings. It's acting with certain religious spirit, religious attitude that takes the interests of the total into account, no longer my own self-centered interest, but the interest of the community, the interest of my neighbors. The larger we bring into account, the results of our, if I take into the account the interest of the country, of the entire planet, the higher, the most noble are my actions, because I'm following the universal Dharma of Ishwara's laws. So ultimately, this pursuit of Dharma takes the form of religion, of spirituality. Okay, this is something I have been emphasizing a lot lately, because in the last few years, I've been more and more in contact with the Vedic tradition, and I start appreciating more and more the culture, the Vedic culture, and the importance of integrate our spirituality with what we know as a religious lifestyle. Somehow we have thrown away this concept of religions because of all wars and absurdities that we saw in the name of religion. That is like throwing the baby with the bath water. So the religions, they have a lot of beautiful things to it, especially the Vedic religious culture. It's born out of Ishwara. It was revealed by Ishwara. Oh, it's not a human system, religious system, but it is revealed by the Lord. So to understand the value of this Vedic religious system, knowledge, and live in accordance, and following Dharma is what we can call a true religious spiritual life. There is a microphone that may need to be closed. So for some people, this pursuit takes a form of religion. For others, especially in the West, it takes the form of righteousness, values, or just personal development, personal improvement, as I say. It's much common that we go through that. For example, I was not born in the Vedic culture. So how I went to find Vedanta and the Vedanta began with an neurotic teenager as I was that needed therapy. So before I would kill myself or go crazy or do something stupid, I say, hey, I need help. So let's go for therapy. And then years and years of therapy took me to what? Therapy that took me to meditation, which was the game in town those days. That's the fashion. That's the entry that we have into the spiritual religious life through meditation. Although meditation in the West is deprived of Ishwara and Brahman, okay, because they present meditation as a relax the mind. Buddhism has done this has produced this effect because Buddha rejects Ishwara, reject the Vedas, and present just meditation as a means to produce mental state of nirvana and whatnot. And everybody in the West goes for meditation as a means to relax the mind, bring about tranquility of mind, and here there may be some nice experience that we call spiritual experience or spiritual epiphanies, okay? And that, as we know, they don't stay, they come and go. So, but usually in the West, we go through therapies, yoga, you know, those asanas, and then psychologies, and until we find a way into the spiritual new age world, okay, which is a real mess, you know, is a cocktail of all kinds of notions and ideas that can get anybody confused, no matter how intelligent or sharp we may be. Okay, but for some other people, this idea of Dharma may take also the shape of going around the world trying to save other species or trying to save the human beings, trying to harmonize, to reduce the suffering in other nations of other people. So these are the people who have this tendency of interpreting Dharma as, as charitable work, you know, selfless work to uplift or to reduce the suffering in the world, you know. So some people they just express this desire for Dharma, you know. They went through security, they went through pleasure, and now they want to do something for others, not for himself. They go to Africa. They go to Africa. They live in terrible conditions, try to help those small children that have almost nothing to eat, for example, you know. So there are different expressions of this conversion of Artha Kama into Dharma, okay? But what is the ultimate value for Dharma? Is the value for Dharma that's conducive to the scriptures on Kama Yoga, which are scriptures of Vedanta, so that one becomes a Kama Yogi, develops the spirit of Kama Yogi, knowing that everything he does for the sake of the Lord and receiving all results as prasadam. So ultimately, his desire for Dharma, it grows to become an attitude, a spirit, a lifestyle that we call a lifestyle of the Kama Yogi. So, but regardless of whether you chase security, pleasure, or virtue, or anything else for that matter, you have to ask yourself, why do I want these things in the first place? Is it for their own sake? So whatsoever object of pursuit I have in my mind, it comes a point, regardless of being an object of security, pleasure, or virtue. So why? For what I need this object? Is for the sake of the object, or it's for my own sake? In truth, when we really look at the motives, the motivation behind these pursuits, we're going to understand that we want what we want not for the sake of those objects of pursuit, but for the sake of happiness or a sense of freedom that I experience every time I accomplish my goals. I gain that object of desire. Okay, I get what I want. So, for the sake of the object, I seek what I seek. No, I seek what I seek for the sake of my own sense of peace, contentment, and happiness. We do that so that we can enjoy a sense of happiness. So now we're going to make a step forward. We do that not for the sake of happiness, but we do that for the sake of freedom from unhappiness. Okay? And the freedom from unhappiness is equivalent of a sense of no limitation. Okay? We don't like limitation. No human being like limitation. We go for all those things. We think that the happiness is contained in these objects of pursuit, and then we analyze We investigate, we say, I only go for these pursuits because I want happiness. I want to be happy and experience a sense of not being limited by not having what I deliberately produce as a need for myself to be happy. Okay? It's a self-imposed slavery, a self-imposed bound. Okay? Of course, we are not that self-imposing because the whole machinery behind us, composed by the three bodies, are compelling us to desire what we want to desire, what we desire. It comes from our vasanas. So, but with time, we understand that anything, any pursuit of any object is just a means, an effort that I put out as a means to remove the sense of limitation. I am limited by not having what I want. I am limited. I feel limited by not avoiding what I do not want. So most of us are already advanced in Vedanta. We know that a desire to gain, to attract something is a positive desire. And we could likewise say that a desire to push something away from me is a negative desire. So we are either running to gain something or we are running to avoid something. The common denominator is that we are all the time running. And this running from is the very cause of disturbance in the mind, mental agitation, okay? Inability to enjoy, okay, your own self-nature, okay? So this freedom is equal to happiness, which translates as a feeling of happiness and peace and contentment and limitlessness. Okay? I feel free from the desire, I feel free from the limitation of not having what I wanted. So now I gained what I want, therefore I feel free from that limitation, therefore I feel happy, content, satisfied, relaxed. My mind is resolved. My mind is resolved forever. This is a lie. My nose started growing. I felt it right away. There is no object of desire that can produce permanent satisfaction, permanent happiness, permanent freedom, permanent limitlessness. So I get this happiness by gaining what I want. And on the other hand, limitation, this sense of limitation that we have, due to not believing that I'm not getting everything that I want and I deserve. This sense of limitation translates into what we call human unhappiness, human suffering. I want what I want. So if I don't get it, I feel unhappy. I feel sad. I feel frustrated. I feel angry. I feel depressed. Okay? I'm experiencing the human condition called samsara. Trying to gain what I want, but being frustrated because it's not easy to get exactly what we want in life. If we don't learn certain lessons in life, we have a perfect setup that's going to grind and destroy us, until we born again, try to learn this lesson that we cannot get what we want. I think Ron Stone, Mike Jagger was very wise at the time when he came with that song. I can't always get what I want. Of course, he was imagining about that beautiful girl, these love songs that he used to write. But generally speaking, it's the same principle. We can't get always what we want, no matter how powerful, how rich, how famous, how prestigious we are. So this sense of limitation produces unhappiness. And in being unhappy is something that nobody wants. It's absolutely not acceptable. And most of us are still hoping that one day, one certain day, we're gonna hit, how you say, the casino, jackpot?
Jackpot, hit a jackpot.
I'm gonna hit the jackpot and I'm gonna get that object that is going to bring in my life permanent and limitless happiness, freedom, and satisfaction. Okay? So inside of most of every human being, even those who have a certain level of maturity, there is still this fantasy, okay, not this time, but next one, next accomplishment is going to resolve this problem. Okay? And we go from one pursuit to another pursuit. We go traveling through the pursuits of security, all kinds of pleasures, and then dharmic pursuits, but still we want to gain something. When we are up there on the pursuit of Dharma, what is our goal? What we want to gain? We want to get the celestial punya. You know, we want punya. We want to live eternally in one of these realms, celestial realms, where there is only joy and happiness and peace and love. Okay? So even the most virtuous people, you know, they're still bound by this causality and action that I do to gain what I want, you know, and and anything that is gained in time is going to fade in time. You know, it comes in time and it goes in time. Nothing remains forever. So, having said so, and having looked into those aspects of this introduction, we have here that what I wrote as the $1 billion question. Huh? In the old days, we would say a $1 million question. This is $1 billion question. Huh? The $1 billion question is, since life basically amounts to the pursuit of freedom, pursuit of happiness, of pursuit of feeling limitless, nothing is limiting me, nothing is lacking here. There is nothing missing, nothing could be added because I got everything. Okay? Since the basically amounts to the pursuit of freedom and happiness, limitlessness, through gaining, through this gaining accomplishments and gains of security, pleasure, and virtue, it makes total sense to ask. I have been trying to get that. So some of us are 30 years old, some of us are 40, 50, 60, 70. Okay? We have been trying it since forever. Okay? Try to resolve this condition, try to resolve this sense of limitation, by the means of gaining security, pleasure, and virtue. I know that happiness exists. I know that this sense of limitless peace, joy, and satisfaction exists. And I try to gain it by gaining my objects of desire, avoiding the objections of repulsion. So it makes sense after 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 years of effort. It makes sense to ask, is what I am doing really working? So this is the $1 billion question, which comes into the mind of very rare individuals, mature individuals that somehow have lived their lives to the point of coming to the corner, in which they have to say, hey, there is something wrong here. It's not working, and I have been trying very, very hard, right? For example, let's say that I have $1 billion, huh? And I feel really, and I have got my money spread all over the planet, all kinds of markets. So if one market goes up here and the other goes down, it's okay because I have money in both. I have money in 10 different markets. Okay? I have properties everywhere. Nothing can touch my sense of financial security. I am balanced. I'm not a gambler that I'm going to put everything in one basket. So I'm good. So this does not apply. This principle of Vedanta does not apply to me. I say, oh, wait a moment. It applies to everyone and everybody. So just imagine you go to the doctor tomorrow and the doctor say, oh, you feel secure? Yeah, you have a terminal cancer, pancreas cancer, and you have just 1 month of life. So where does your security go? Yeah? Or even if you are very healthy, health to the point that you believe that you are never going to experience old age and death. It's very funny. I went to a party this last weekend. It was a birthday party of an aunt of my wife. It was since the age I haven't been to a samsari big party like that, you know. And I showed a picture that somebody in Brazil made. It's an interesting picture, and that shows. Let me see if I find it here. I don't want to say. I want to show you. It's a picture that I showed to some friends as a joke, and some friends got shocked, and they thought it was the truth. So look at this picture. Can you see it, or there is too much reflex?
No, we can see it. No.
Hmm? So this is an app that somebody in Brazil was holding and say they make a picture of you that makes you show older, much older. Okay. And then I wrote some message to some friends say like, oh man, I'm traveling too much jet lags. It's really hurting my body and I feel much older now. I sent to some friends and some of them I said, oh man, you have to stop. You are really looking old. They did not understand that was a joke, you know. I sent to my wife. She had a big laughter, of course. But anyhow, I was in this party and I showed this. They were making, they had an app making picture of people that would turn you into the opposite sex. They made a picture of Vidya and shows Vidya as a man. They make a picture of me and it shows me as a woman and so on. And then I was like, oh, look at this one. I have this one that makes you older. Gee, you cannot imagine the reaction of the people. Oh, this is horrible. Fuck it, you know. This, you don't do that. Delete this app, you know. Oh, this is horrible. So no matter how healthy you are, how deluded one may be, that I'm going to live forever, I am not going to experience old age, I'm not going to experience disease, pain, and death. Yeah? No matter. So let's say I have billions of dollars spread all over, my body's health, I think that I'm forever secure and I'm not going to die because I have money to prevent my deaths. Okay? I can do many facelifts and lifts all over the body. But I feel very, very insecure emotionally. You know, I'm a little bit weird. I mean, there is no relationship of mine that works. Every girl in the end says, you're impossible, and then they leave me, and I feel lonely. I feel that nobody loves me. They only have interest in me because I'm powerful and rich. So I feel emotionally love-wise, I feel very, very secure. Okay, so there is not really a security that can be gained, by the acquisition of money, power, prestige, and properties, states, and so on, that can take care of the jiva. The more energy you're going to put into accomplishing material gains, more you're going to neglect other areas of your life, and you're going to feel insecure and incomplete in other areas of your life. Huh? So there is a defect in the pursuit of happiness in any and all object. So the $1 billion question is, why is it not working? I have been trying so hard. Is what I'm doing really right? Is what I'm doing really working? Okay, another interesting point is that generally speaking, when we get what we want, it's possible that we realize that we did not really want that. Have you had that? It's very this relationship. You say, no, I need something here. There's something missing, so I need a very dear one, live with me and to be my partner and to have some love, and then I get it, and then after some time I say, ooh, mistake, it was not really, it's not going to work, it's not really what I was looking for. Why? First, because nobody is exactly a perfect match to our fantasies. We frame, we project, we say, okay, now you have to fit within my. Nobody's going to really fit in. No matter how much we try to push them within that frame, or her within that frame. But moreover, when we gain something, there is always a huge downside for everything we gain. I want to have the love of my life, very dear partner, and so on. I have it, and then I don't like this, I don't like that, I don't like his smell, I don't like that, and so now I cannot do what I want because I have to include the other, and the other does not really like everything I want. So there is disagreement, there is conflict, and then you say, okay, no. Now, that is not what I really want. So a lot of the time we work hard to gain things just to realize that was not really what I wanted. Okay? Relationships are a good example. Yeah. Another point is that you like something today, but tomorrow your values change, your tastes change, and that thing has no value to you anymore. Okay? It's the most difficult thing is a human relationship, because you have two human beings and they keep changing. And the rate of change is not always equal. They develop different values in life. So if you want to marry someone, think that, or get together with someone, think that, okay, I need a perfect pair, a perfect match today. It's again big risk, because tomorrow this match may not be found 10, 20 years later on. Why? Because my values change in one direction, the other person's values change in the other direction. So now, what is going to keep this couple together? Usually, the couple is kept together due to the family, the children, the belongs, the patrimony. How you say patrimonio?
Marriage.
Huh?
Marriage.
No, the assets. I remember.
Yeah. The assets. Okay, yeah.
The assets, the children, the house, and the other assets is too complicated to break out. So usually, because this matching does not last forever because people change. So we want something today, tomorrow, that same thing may not be of our interest because we have changed. And if the other thing is an object that changes as well, like a human being, that's why it's the most difficult relationship with objects is a relationship between a human object with another human object. If it is a human object with an inert object, it's okay because only you are changing. But it's you, a changing being, with another changing being. And then the chance of keeping a balance is very, very, very difficult because both parts are shifting and changing. You know? Then how to maintain a marriage, which is nowadays is an institution that is disappearing more or less, you know? It's the only possible by Dharma, and that is another aspect of the Vedic culture that says that marriage relationship has to be Dharma basic. Okay, because when it's Dharma basic, it's like it's my Dharma as a husband, it's my Dharma as a wife, and we have this contract. We're gonna have children, grow children, and so on. I fulfill my Dharma, and then I'm done, and then I can pursue moksha. That is the old traditional structure, you know. I follow this Dharma. We grow our children. Yeah, we take care of our assets. We secure some savings. We pass it on, and we both go for moksha, the last stage of this, what is called the Sanskrit is I forgot the Sanskrit name.
Doesn't matter. We know what you mean.
Huh?
The ashramas of life.
Huh?
The ashramas.
Yes, the ashramas. Yeah. Help me, please. Okay. So our desires keep changing. So what made us happy yesterday, tomorrow no longer makes us happy, and then we have to get rid of things, and then we need to push something away and go for something else, and we never get to the point of asking ourselves this 1 billion question. So, is what I'm doing really working? Is there any chance I'm going to gain something that is going to permanently, stably, and permanently satisfy me? So it comes sooner or later. We come to that conclusion, and a lot of time we come for that conclusion by ourselves on our own, you know, by by hitting our heads, no, by this very friction, by the very pain and suffering of life, of trying to solve this condition, you know, through the accomplishments and acquisitions of life, comes to a point that often we understand it's not working. There is something wrong, and that's where usually we go and we move to meditation and we progress to religious lifestyle. Generally speaking, when we get what we want, it's possible that you didn't really want it. Yeah? All because what you want is freedom from the wanting. Huh? Every wanting is a desire to remove the wanting. It's not a desire to gain the object of wanting. Okay? We gain the object of wanting and they say, fuck, that was not, this is more trouble even. It's not really what I want. What I wanted was to remove the wanting, this nagging, irritating, wanting things to complete myself. What I want is freedom from wanting. And freedom is never going to be found on any object of experience. I want to be free from the wanting. I want objects, and then I become wise. I understand that what I need is to be free from the wanting. And then I no longer run about chasing objects, but I start to understand, contemplate, and come to a teacher, to the scriptures, become a karma yogi, and so on, and grow and be free. So no matter what the case may be, anything you chase for the sake of freedom and happiness will never ever last, because it's in the very nature of every object of experience. The very nature is impermanence, transience. Okay? Everything we gain in life, everything we accomplish gives us a temporary sense of satisfaction, of freedom from desire. But then again, another desire pops up. That accomplishment just fades in my mind. The effect of that accomplishment fades in my mind. It's an effect. It's a tranquilizing effect that fades as another wanting, another desire emerges in my mind. But no one wants to work very hard. Okay, now I jumped another note here. No matter what the case may be, anything I chase for the sake of freedom or happiness does not work. And if it works temporarily, right? Because as we understood, we experience fleeting moments of happiness, joy, satisfaction when we gain what we want, or when avoid something that we really are afraid of, desires and fears, same energy. So when we gain what I want, I experience fleeting moments of peace, happiness, and love and satisfaction. But after some time, we understand that those fleeting moments of happiness no longer satisfy me. So now I'm determined. I want permanent happiness. I want permanent peace. I want permanently have a mind, resolved without all these afflictions of desires and fears that keep me running in the rat race of life, trying to gain and trying to avoid all the time. So I want to be out of that. So this is called very, very blessed understanding that brings us to a spiritual life based on the Vedic values and Vedanta. Temporary freedom is not freedom at all. It causes expectation, anxiety. No? The freedom that we gain through the acquisition of objects, it comes always with anxiety, stress, expectation. And then when we get into another problem, is attachment. Oh, how do I do now not to lose it? As Ramji likes to say, everything in Nietzsche keeps going south. Our body keeps going south. Everything we have. Oh, you want a beautiful house? Ooh, big trouble. More trouble. With a swimming pool. Oh my God. This is
more trouble.
Now you have to maintain, and everything keeps going south. Everything. Okay? And there is no way we can get this freedom by the acquisition of our objects. Temporary freedom is not freedom at all. It causes expectation, frustration, attachment, dependence, and it keeps producing more desires. It causes the condition known as samsara. Samsara is the condition of the beautiful self-conscious beings we are, under the spell of Maya, ignorance, misidentified with the body-mind complex, experience this sense of limitation, smallness, insignificance, and inadequacy, and going about trying to prove itself by gaining things to cover up this condition, to camouflage this condition. This is called samsara, eternally running towards or from objects as a means to resolve this human problem. And we keep working hard, but no one wants to work hard only to gain fleeting moments of happiness. Therefore, at this point of our understanding, we are building our understanding. Therefore, at this point of our understanding, we must at least consider a simple fact. If what I have been doing to get freedom was meant to work, if what I have been doing in order to get true permanent happiness was meant to work, it should have worked already, because I'm doing it since 20, 30, 40 years. Okay? I have done everything. I have gone even through so many spiritual circles and gurus. And I'm doing things as I mean to resolve this problem of desire, of this that is born out of the ignorance of my true fundamental essential nature, always ever free. No? So if I'm doing what I'm doing for so long and I never got this true permanent satisfaction, chances are that it's never going to work. It's not going to work. It is a blessed moment for all of us, but for a lot of the time, it's a shocking realization. You understand? People come to Vedanta and they drag themselves with all their spiritual luggage, spiritual bag, all the notions and concepts that they have somehow tied themselves with. They come to Vedanta, and we tell Vedanta goes through the first level of Vedanta. Is Shravana. You need to listen to the teachings for a period of time with an open mind, with a positive attitude, without filtering it through all these notions that you have about spirituality, these notions you have about yourself. You need to have an absolutely open and flexible mind. Okay? But no, people come and they drag all their old concepts. And many times I tell people, hey, how long? Because I see the person may have my age. I say, you most probably are doing that for 30 years, 40 years. No? So if it was meant to work for you, you would not be here right now. If it did not work for you, why you are dragging it around and fight for it and try to defend it and so on? Why not to open your mind and give a chance to the scriptures of the Upanishads, of the Karma Yoga, of Lord Krishna? Why not to open your mind to something new without filtering it, without rejecting everything that does not match your box, okay? Your conditioning? The same way, everything we have done so far, if we did not get the freedom, the satisfaction, the sense of limitlessness that I desire for, chances are that it's not going to work. Okay? If it hasn't worked up to now, continue to believe that it will work is the cause of tremendous suffering. You do something, it does not work, but you think, but next time I find I find my dear other half. No? And they say, like in the United States, the Mrs. Right or the Mr. Right, the right one. No? If I find the right one this time, it's going to work. No. I know people that have found already 5, 6, 7 times the right one. And the right one turns to be not right after some time. Okay? So if we keep doing what we did so far, and what we did so far never produced the desired result, and we keep doing that, this is the very definition of insanity, no? Is to do the same thing over and over again and expect a different result. So if we understand this logic, we have the tools at our disposal to oppose these vasanas, these binding vasanas that are going to compel us to repeat all those stupid actions, engage in those sorts and express those sorts as actions, verbal and physical actions, and run in the rat race to gain what I believe is going to give me this satisfaction. So once we understand that, we stop with this insanity. The knowledge, the understanding is everything. Once we have the understanding, we don't depend only on our willpower. Willpower alone is very weak. We need a willpower backed up by knowledge, understanding. Now we know insanity is to do the same thing over and over again, things that I have done for 30, 20, 30, 40 years and never worked. Why we only find people in Vedanta, almost invariably, we find them with gray hairs or with no hairs, one of the two. Okay? We don't find kids because the kids, with very rare exceptions, they did not suffer enough in samsara to understand that it does not work. Understand? One of the most rare things is to find very young people involved, seriously engaged and involved with Vedanta, okay? Because they did not suffer enough to come to certain conclusions that samsara does not work. But yet, all of us, we know, we remain with this flavor that happiness exists. This sense of freedom and limitlessness and joy exists. Okay? And by coincidence, it exists every time I accomplish something that I really want, or every time I gain something that I dearly desired, or I avoid something that I really did not want. So here and there, it's important to understand when I get happy. And then we can begin to analyze the relationship between my happiness and the object that apparently caused this happiness. Do you need a break?
No, I'm okay. Do you want a break, Arlinda?
No, I'm good. I'm used to it. Usually it goes through 2 hours. Okay. But sometimes people like to have breaks.
I'm good, Arlinda.
Okay, good to know. We are serious. We are all serious about knocking off this ignorance that pushes us around.
Yeah. Very good.
So we know for sure happiness, peace, satisfaction, this sense of nothing limiting me here, nothing obstructing my sense of fullness. So we know that it exists, no? Despite the fact that the freedom you experience in the form of happiness is only temporary, we know that it exists because here and there we experience it. That is a good thing. That's what keeps us alive. Otherwise, most human beings would just check out. There is always hope that here and there we can find and squeeze some happiness here with some experience, gaining, accomplishing, etc., etc. Well, temporarily we know because we experience this satisfaction, this freedom, this peace, this love, this momentary sense of limitlessness. So without properly analyzing this dynamic relationship between our happiness and the object, no, it seems like the feeling of happiness I experience is coming from the object to me. Maya is amazing. It's the greatest trickster. It puts us in this condition. We feel limited, and then we start find this beautiful universe composed by infinite numbers of names, colors, and forms, you know, all composed by this, colored by the energies, the gunas, and the elements. And some of these objects are inert, some of them are sentient, some of them are other human beings, some are dogs and cats. And we want to relate, we want to exchange, we want to get some happiness through this contact with the field. We know it exists. We know that we experience it only temporarily. So when we analyze this experience properly, we see that although it seems that the happiness is coming from the object, we discovered something that can be very, very annoying if we are not ready for this discovery, but very, very freeing, liberating if we are ready for this discovery. We discover that the happiness that we experience is not inherently coming from the object. So, do we all know that?
Yeah.
Everybody? Oh, everybody knows. Good. So it's not coming from the object. Maybe it's about time we define again, for the sake of our freshness of memory, what is an object and what is a subject. An object, anything other than myself. To make it even more simple, an object is anything that can be objectified. Okay? So anything that can come within the scope of my objectification is an object to me. Anything that happens, any circumstance, any feeling, any thought, any emotion, any life situation, any experience is an object because comes within the scope of my objectification. Is something other than me. I am the perceiver of the object of experience. Okay? The object of experience cannot really perceive me, although in the case of me perceiving you, Carla, you become an object of my objectification, and I become an object of your objectification as well. Okay? Generally speaking, an object is anything that can be objectified by me. Now, what is this me? So, in order to objectify this phenomenal object, I need a proper instrument of knowledge, an instrument of perception. This instrument of knowledge, experience, objectification is composed by the sense organs, the mind, and the intellect. So we have the sense organs, the sense instruments connect to the sense organs, the mind, and the intellect. Okay? So we need an instrument, a means, a vehicle by which we can experience and know. We can objectify other objects through an instrument, a perceiving instrument, an instrument of objectification. This is what we call our mind or our body-mind construct, our body-mind complex. We need a medium, okay? Our mind. Now, what is an object? Is the mind a subject or is the mind an object? The mind is the very medium, the very instrument by which I objectify the field of objects. But is the mind the subject, or is the mind an object? Okay? Remember the definition of subject and object. Object is anything that can be objectified. Okay? So now, you ever notice your mind?
Yeah.
Have we ever noticed our mind that sometimes it's very calm and focused and clear, and sharp, assimilating, and sometimes it's dull, sometimes it's absolutely stressed, extroverted, agitated. The mind is an object of experience. So the object is anything other than myself, right? So the mind, subtle body, or the phenomena called the jiva, which is a reflection of this conscious subject. Reflection, this conscious subject produced the jiva. The jiva itself is an object within the scope of this conscious subject. So a subject is pure consciousness. It's Brahman, Brahmatma, consciousness, awareness, howsoever we want to call it. The light of consciousness, the light of pure consciousness, this is the subject. The mind is an object, and the world of objects that can be objectified through the mind are all grosser, more dense objects. The mind is subtle matter, subtle object. Okay? Everything is an object. There is only one non-dual conscious subject, and that is our true essential nature, what we really are. Okay? So we just made a small diversion to define, redefine, to refresh our minds about the definition between subject and object. Okay. So we are discussing now the fact that the objects, they do not really contain inherently. They don't possess the happiness. I often say if the happiness would be truly available through objects, and being a smart guy, as sometimes I am, I would use some of those moments of clarity, and I would look for a very small object. I would say this one. No, this one, very small. I would look for a very small object, and I would purposefully develop a desire for this. I want this because I believe that this one is the source of happiness. We know that the happiness that we find, we imagine to be in objects, is a projection, it's a superimposition, is our subjective view of an object that gives value to objects. So having that knowledge, I say, I'm going to give value to this. This little thing, ordinary thing that you can find everywhere, the cap of a little container. I say this is the most valuable thing. I want it so much because I know I have infused this small object with happiness. Okay? Objects are value neutral, I know. So I'm giving happiness to this object, and I still believe that there must be an object that truly produces permanent happiness. Now I go and I get my object. And the object is very small. Why to have it a very small object? And why to have an object that is easily gained rather than $1 billion that, you have to suffer life or lifetime, more than lifetime to get. No, because you want something easy. You gain the object of a desire. And to me, this object is the source of happiness. Now, what I'm going to do, I put it in my pocket, and this object is going to be producing happiness to myself 24/7, and I sleep with it in my pajama as well. Okay? So this object now is producing happiness. I have determined that this is what I really want, because I believe that happiness is contained in this object. I want it small, I want it all the time available, day and night, 24/7, and I'm gaining these, vibrations of happiness all the time through this object. So, but the objects, in truth, they produce happiness, but unfortunately, it's a happiness that is indirected, depends on gaining the object. And this trick that I'm trying to play is much easier said than accomplished, because the mind is going to challenge you. If you say this is really valuable, the mind will say, no, it's impossible. You are not really going to be happy with this cat. So you're going to want something that is difficult. But there are certain things that are not so difficult. You like, for example, chocolate bar. I used to like, when my digestion could cope, I used to like those 85, 90, 95% chocolate bars. Little sugar and very nice, and then some nice chocolate cakes. So that kind of thing gives me happiness, let's say. So it's something that, no, every time I have a chocolate cake, I feel happy. I'm sure that there is happiness in that chocolate bar or in that chocolate cake. But if there is really happiness in that bar, in that chocolate cake should produce happiness to every human being. And believe me or not, there are some people that do not like chocolate cake. They like the cheesecake. They say chocolate cake, ooh. Since I was a child, I hate chocolate, and I had a problem with chocolate cakes. My thing is cheesecake, okay? And then the chocolate cake is disproved as a true source of happiness because it does not produce happiness in everybody. I said, it's okay, it produces happiness in me. This is good enough. Maybe it's something custom made. Everybody's gonna have a different object of experience that can produce permanent and infinite happiness. They say, okay, then let's make another test. You really like chocolate cake? There we go. I take you to the best dessert place in town. We're gonna enjoy some chocolate cake. And I'm gonna prove to you that it's not the case. Huh? We go there, and then I ask them, oh, can you bring a double portion of chocolate cake to my friend here? And then, double, ooh, wonderful, yum, yum, yum. I just enjoyed the chocolate cream, very creamy with chocolate and so on. And then when I'm about done and satisfied, my friend say, hey, waiter, please bring another double chocolate cake to my friend. I think, well, another one. So, I think you exaggerate. I know you're a generous person, but 2 times double cake. You say, no. We are here just philosophically discussing a subject matter here. So I want to make sure that you are right, that the chocolate cake contains happiness and it's going to provide happiness. So by the time my friend was finishing the second double chocolate cake, he couldn't say chocolate cake anymore. Chocolate cake became a source of unhappiness to him. In the next day, he was having belly problems, and he was not feeling well. And after that, he started really having a problem. What he believed that chocolate is going to make me happy, he had doubt because he has discovered some defect in that kind of object of desire. If you have too much, you get fed up with it. And then what was a pleasure becomes discomfort. Okay? So there is no object of experience that can be proved to contain real happiness. We project happiness is a subjective phenomenon. We superimpose happiness on things that we like, and then when we gain those objects, we satisfy our desire and we experience happiness. And how about we experience happiness? It's not because we ate the double chocolate cake. It's because we remove the wanting, the nagging wanting that disturbs the mind. It's the removal of that mental ignorance that compels us to chase things. It's the removal of the ignorance. Okay? I need things as a need to resolve my mind. I need things as a need to find true happiness. Hmm? So the same object can give totally different experience to different people. We know that. Some people would have terrible experience with something that you find the most amazing experience, object of experience. So the question then is if happiness is not in the object, because we can go as deep into this argument, we can stay 1 week discussing this. We can go deep into this argument until we really see it through and through that happiness is not contained in any object of experience. So, and then what is our next question? If happiness is not contained in the object, how many factors there is in existence?
2.
4 factors, 3 factors, 1 factor, 2 factors? In existence, there are 2 factors. In the existence manifest by Maheshwara, there are 2 fundamental factors. Okay, the nature of reality is non-duality, but when Maya comes in operation, it produces this double-fold duality, primordial duality, most fundamental subject, object. Subject, the jivas, experience the object. Okay, so if in this dynamic play of Maheshwara, having as jivas experience objects as a means to find happiness, true happiness, if we understand, if we analyze, if we assimilate and we retain this knowledge, this understanding that happiness is not contained in the object. And remember, we have already established that happiness exists because we experience it here and there. We experience some moments of happiness. Well, now we have a certainty that there is such a thing as happiness, and the certainty that happiness is not contained in any object. So if it's not contained in an object, where is this happiness contained?
In the subject.
In the subject. There are only 2 factors, subject, object. Then it's not inherent to this object, it's inherent to the subject. And we have determined that the object is not the mind. The subject is not really the mind. The mind is another object, is my instrument of experience, an instrument of knowledge, of knowingness, of knowing the field. The subject is this conscious principle, okay? Now, what happens that we get deceived by Maya, and we end up believing that the object contains this happiness. What happens is very simple. Every time we gain what we want, and the bigger is the desire, the greater the struggle to accomplish it. And then when we get it, the relief is big. Okay? We relax. I got it. Okay? And then for a certain period of time, the mind is resolved. Resolved in which way? All those rajas that were agitating, disturbing the mind, they settle. Okay? They settle. And the mind is a mirror-like matter. This mind, once it's resolved, it's settled its rajas, and it clears its tamas, it becomes conditioned by a predominance of sattva. It becomes a reflector in which the self, the true, fundamental, essential, true conscious subject reflects upon and produces this bliss, this joy, this satisfaction, which is nothing more than the reflection of who I am, the self, in my own mind, resolved by the removal of ignorance, rajas and tamas. Okay? Rajas agitate, disturbing, tamas concealing. So my mind is resolved. Those are the moments when I acquired what I want, I accomplished my desires, my mind is resolved, okay? And I feel the joy. And then, because we did not have the privilege to be introduced to the scriptures, to our tradition and so on, which is not our case, we have not had enough merit to come to this knowledge of Vedanta. We erroneously, mistakenly, we connect the happiness with the object, and then unconsciously say, oh, I am happy because of the object. No, you are not happy because of the object. You are happy because of your mental condition. Once you freed your mind from the effects of that desire, of those wants, which is mental agitation. Have you noticed that mental agitation is psychologically, emotionally very painful? It's more painful than tamas or depression. Depression may be very flat and very boring. It's a terrible human condition, but there is nothing worse than a mind extremely stressed out, extremely rajasic, is extremely operated by intense desires and many desires. The very, very rajasic, ambitious person, they don't deal with one desire at a time. They have multiple desires operating in their mind. So when a desire or a group of desires are resolved, naturally our mind develops a predominance of sattva, and the sattva guna is the predominance, the mental predominance that allows the reflection of the self and the sense, the experiential sense of peace, bliss, love, satisfaction, and freedom. And then our next question would maybe be, so what is the connection then between these and self-knowledge? No? Because if I know that you cannot get the object, the happiness through the object, you can get the happiness only through your own mental condition. What is the need for self-knowledge? All I need to do is to control and manipulate and management of my mind so that I keep my mind sattvic, and then I can enjoy
joy. Are you following me?
Yeah.
Are you following me? We can enjoy joy. I have control and manipulate. I manage my energies. I manage my mental condition. It's called guna management. Okay, and now I can enjoy this nice reflection of the self on my mind, which is right now is dominated by sattva, and therefore I experience this joy, which is a reflection of the self on a mind resolved by a predominance of sattva guna. So I don't need self-knowledge, I just need guna management. But the problem is that guna management is possible only to a certain extent, because we cannot control our environments all the time. Environments keep changing and they keep affecting our minds. We need to leave our home. I was very sattvic, and then I left, and then I went to the office to do some work and to meet some clients. And the client was very disturbed. My client was very rajasic, very depressed, and that affected my mind. And then my mind was sattvic before, very clear and alert and sharp. And then by the time I got home, my mind was down, or my mind was totally agitated. Okay, so we don't have full control over those managements of our environment that allows us to maintain that predominance of sattva guna, which is what occurs every time that we accomplish something that we want so much. Okay? So, and then that's where self-knowledge comes into place, because this directly means to find this happiness is only possible through the means of knowing who and what you are. So by the means of self-knowledge, the mind of the yoni, it remains naturally with a predominance of sattva guna, because self-knowledge is the knowledge that immediately starts burning or melting or shrinking all other desires, because all desires, they are caused by the misconception that I am a small individual and I need things to fulfill and complete myself. Self-knowledge is the knowledge I am the light of consciousness, illuminating this mind and illuminating the field. I'm always ever present. I'm purna. I'm whole, full, and complete. There is nothing missing. This knowledge immediately has a side effect, and this side effect is that all the vasanas, all the desires based on ignorance, ignorant vasanas, so this ignorance-based vasana, they start dry and die because you no longer engage them. So the mind of the yoni is naturally established with the predominance of sattva guna without need of guna management. Okay? Such is the importance of self-knowledge, and that's why self-knowledge, after all, is the only solution for the gaining of this permanent satisfaction, peace, no? And we are talking about two kinds of peace, two kinds of satisfaction, two kinds of joy, okay? Experientially speaking, when our mind is dominated by sattva, okay, we don't want anything. There are no desires at play. There is nothing that really shines for me, nothing that compels me to participate in the rat race again. Okay, I'm resolved in my mind, so I have this knowledge. Sorry. So when I'm having this condition of mind, I am free from these agitations, you know, and I experience
two levels of joy, two levels of satisfaction, two levels of contentment and happiness. One is experiential, which is the reflection of self-consciousness in the mind dominated by Sattva Guna. This is called bliss. In the yoga, everybody talks about bliss. Experiential bliss is as you meditate, you develop a sattvic mind and you keep experience. Bliss, which is a reflection of consciousness of the self on a mind conditioned by a predominance of sattva. Okay? So I know that by my own experience, because one day came into my life that I stand up from my cushion and I told myself and my wife, I will never meditate again. I'm done with bliss. Because all this bliss, they leave me afterwards when I go back to my activities. You understand? That moment I was getting clear into my mind that what was going to resolve this problem is knowledge. It's not the experience of sattva. It's not the experience of bliss. Okay? So experientially speaking, the Jnani experience naturally. He is not fascinated with it. He is not make any effort with it. Most Jnanis, they don't sit to do any sadhana. Okay? But naturally, because her mind is resolved with a predominance of Sattva Guna due to self-knowledge, they experience this nature of bliss as a sense of joy, happiness, and so on. And the other aspect is the happiness and contentment that one experience, which is more like a sense of untouchability, if we can say. Nothing can really touch me. It's this confidence that nothing can ever affect me because I am of the nature of consciousness. Nothing can affect me. And then there are two levels of this happiness experienced by the Jnani. One experiential, because his mind is conditioned by a predominance of sattva, and the other is the self-confidence derived by the knowledge, Aham Brahmasmi, I am Brahman, I am Chaitanya, I am free, I am Nirguna Brahman. Nothing can ever affect me. Are we doing okay?
Yeah, doing good.
So one little trick I often say is that if we still hooked to our desires, so why not to begin designing things that are easily accessible? If we want things that are very difficult to gain, it's a setup, okay? But if we want things that are more easily, there is a law operating the field that's called the law of scarcity. The more something is in demand, the more people want something, the more difficult it's to get it, because there is more demand than supply. Okay? So let's be smart. Let's enjoy what we have fully. Yeah, there was an old proverb that I liked from the time I was a child. Like, if you cannot have everything you love everything you have.
Yeah.
Let's be smart and enjoy the gifts that life gives us without creating all this unnecessary trouble and suffering by wanting things that are difficult to be accomplished. Okay, there is a good point here. If we follow the logic presented so far, and I ask myself if what I'm thinking, what I'm looking, what I'm thinking is freedom, and freedom is my very nature. We understood that. Why to go about seek happiness in objects? Seeking happiness in objects is to seek for happiness, which comes once in a while, every time we gain what we want, okay? And not only that, it is an indirect means of happiness. What do you mean happiness? By an indirect means. Happiness is my own very nature. I don't know how to access the joy and happiness which is my nature. I know it's my own nature. So I decide to go about indirectly by trying to gain or accomplish my objects of desire. And then if I get once in a while, I experience this joy that I know it's my very nature, because now I'm smart enough. I still do not know how to access it directly. Okay? So then, why I'm seeking for this indirectly by the means of acquisition? Why not to go for the acquisition, for the experience, for the knowledge that allows this permanent sense of happiness, joy, and freedom by the direct means? And what is the direct means? Yeah? One is by indirect means. I have to go first to the object to experience my true happiness, fundamental nature as happiness. The other way is I have to go directly. So how to go about directly? That's a good question. If we follow the logic so far present here, and I ask myself if what I'm seeking is freedom, and freedom is my nature, why to go about seeking it indirectly by the means of acquisition and avoidance of objects? Furthermore, it may be an indication that I may have a wrong idea about what I am. I may think that I am an object. Okay? So, if I know that the objects are not going to, the indirect pursuit is not going to solve this solution, and I know that the joy, the happiness is my very nature, the nature of my I, and I don't know to access it, it means to say that I may not know exactly what I am. It may be an indication that I may have wrong notions, wrong ideas about this I that I refer as myself. We refer to us as I, but in most cases we refer to the body-mind complex, the body-mind construct, which is definitely limited by all means. Even the body-mind complex, the body-mind constructs of the most enlightened being, the most free Mahatma, the most sent, the greatest sent self we realize, it still has imperfections, because it's impossible to find perfection within the realm of the object, quality, medium. Yeah? So I may have a wrong idea about what I am. I know that's my own nature, but it takes time until we understand that this I does not refer to the body-mind complex, does not refer to the meditator, to the observer. This I refers to something which is the true, pure, absolute, conscious subject, the illuminator of the mind. Okay, so it takes some time until we understand what we really are, and then we can begin this self inquiry, the self-discovery, the self-investigation to the nature of that I that frees us from the need to run around chasing objects as a means to fulfill and resolve myself. Okay? We need to know, what is this I? The answer is yes, we have a wrong idea about what we are. By no fault of ours, it's not our fault, it's all Maya. We think that we are the object called the body-mind. And by obvious observations, we draw conclusions that no, this body-mind in no way is limitless. This body-mind is bound by all means, is limited by all means, is bound by time. It grows old, decays, it dies. Okay, everything is going south. It's limited by what it can do. It is limited by what it can know. It can only know very little. Okay, so if I'm still doing my investigation, my self-inquiry, but I'm still under the spell of Maya that identifies myself as the body-mind, and then I am having these wrong notions that prevents myself from beginning this investigation into that which is the true self, source of happiness, rather than the object. The answer is yes, but it's not our fault. We believe that the body-mind is incomplete. We believe that we are the body-mind. This I is the body-mind, and we know it is incomplete. It's not independent. It feels inadequate. And this misidentification, this misconcept, it forces us to seek happiness in the pursuit, by the pursuits and acquisitions of objects of experience. When you clearly see that the indirect happiness is only possible temporarily, and furthermore, that the happiness does not come from the object, but from yourself, you are ready for the fourth and final human pursuit called the pursuit of moksha. You see the evolution of our journeys as human beings. We go from security, and then pleasures and everything, and then virtue, dharma, and so on. We become smart, we get educated due to our karmic merits, we get in contact with the scriptures, with some good teachers, okay? And then we finally get in contact, we develop the fourth, most important, the highest noble pursuit, human pursuit, which is the pursuit of freedom or moksha. Okay, you're ready for this fourth and final pursuit called moksha, and in this way we can close our class of today. I enjoyed talking to you guys in English and practice my English a little bit. And if you are up to it, we can do it again next Sunday. We can try to spread the words if you wish so, and get some more friends involved. Okay? Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Shanti.
Gratitude, Arlindo.
Huh?
Gratitude.
Thank you. Thank you. We'll be in touch. Okay?
Okay.
Thanks, Arlindo. Great stuff.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Okay, see you next week.
Okie dokie.
Much appreciated.
Thank you, Carla. Thank you. I'm in the meeting then. Bye-bye. See you later.
Bye-bye.
Alligator.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye now.